I like this album so much, we're going to do a short second track.
New arrival at Birth Spout 7. Can someone initiate this well? Yes, welcome to Erstwisle. Hang tight. All will be explained.
Now, if it's up to me, I'll do it the correct way.
You have the right to say who can do the best job here. I'm just going to do it myself.
All right, that was a couple of tracks from this CD by Nick Prol and the Proletarians. The first track was called Duggars, and the second track was called Birth Gourd. Gourd like a pumpkin. And the CD also, there's this accompanying beautiful book. It's a little mini book with all the lyrics and some cool art. Nick is a fantastic artist. If you follow Mike Keneally or any of that kind of like weird prog circle, you've probably seen Nick's art. Nick is a great digital artist, and this album features a lot of super creative music, creative art, creative guests, and really tight, awesome band. And we have 2/3 of the Proletarians here. We've got Nick and Ben Spees. Nick, thanks so much for joining. Ben, thank you for joining. Please
thank you.
Introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for the kind words. I'm Nick. I am, let's see, I guess the central songwriter of sorts. We have a unique setup. I don't know anything about music theory personally, so I come up with ideas and I play them best I can. Vocals are my forte, so I'll even sing lines of certain things. And I lucked out some years ago meeting these guys, the Mercury Tree, which is Ben's other band, and Connor, who is our drummer in the Proletarians. And they sort of agreed to be more or less my rhythm section to help, because their chops as actual instrument players were so beyond my own. I had all the ideas in my head. I just needed some people to help me realize them. And so they signed on to do that, and it's evolved from there, where now on the album you just referenced, Ben had more creativity or more input than usual. So it's probably going to keep evolving. And yeah, it's just a really cool, fateful meetup of two groups of people that, just we get it as far as what the song should be, I guess. And we make, I guess I'd call it art rock or progressive pop. We used to call it pop in opposition as a reference to like the rock in opposition movement. But, and I guess you could still call it that. There's on this new album, it's far more little bit. I mean, it's still crazy and all over the place, but it's like on the first album, Lunatic, we had so many guests, and that was sort of orchestrated that way. Number one, because I felt like it would be such an honor to have guests of these people that I admire on my album. But second, because I was a no-name. So it really helped right out the door get people's attention and everything. But on the second album, I thought we should really prove what we can do as a three-piece. And the sound evolved a bit too. So it went from Pop and Opposition, very like a Canterbury sound, very Cardiac, very Frank Zappa, Henry Cow, stuff like that, with some XTC, Prefab Sprout pop tunes, to now that this newer album is a bit more polished, a bit more reined in. Besides that last song you played, which is insane, and very, very 80s influenced, a lot of Adrian Belew and 80s Crimson in there. And yeah, I would say that that's all I have to say so far. Ben, take it away.
You're on mute, Ben.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so I got to know Nick, I think around, it must be 5 years or 6 years ago. And at that point, Nick had not released Lunatic. He was working on the songs that would become that. They were in very embryonic form. And I think I heard about him because he had posted something about one of the amazing guests. I don't know if it was Bob Drake, or there were so many people, I don't remember which one. But I was like, who is this guy getting all these guests on his songs? This seems like someone I should pay attention to. So I listened to a couple of his SoundCloud links, and the first thing that struck me was like he was really a unique voice, both vocally and just a musical voice. His songs didn't sound like anything I'd heard before. And secondly, I could hear that like they had a great lo-fi production that could potentially be hugely improved with like proper recording and engineering. So at that point, it took me a little while, but I really got hooked on his songs, and I started thinking, well, he's having these other people participate. Maybe there's a part we could play, because I feel like I'd like to be involved with someone with such a strong amount of character. And I think character is really a great word to describe Nick, not only his personal character, but the number of different characters he creates in his songs and in the world of Erstwisle, which was created for this most recent album. So it sort of gradually and unintentionally happened that we became the backing band or the other members of the Proletarians. But I'm very happy it went that direction, because I feel like we were able to make a really big contribution to like really like making these songs everything they could be. Also for me, like dealing with all the guests on the first album was a really amazing experience. Like some of the people I got to mix, me and Ian Beabood collaborated in mixing the album. So he did some and I did some, but basically Nick's just a treasure of a songwriter. And I feel like he might not, we've helped more people hear about him, which should continue to happen more, I hope.
Yeah, I agree. Nick is a very, very talented songwriter and artist, and I kind of think of him as like a real blend of like XTC, King Crimson, Frank Zappa. Those are the three bands that really come to mind. I know the stuff I played in the beginning doesn't really it might bring up some like we're only in it for the money, but with the,
I think that those are excellent reference points, and specifically like our shared love of XTC was a big bonding point, and specifically for the bass parts that I do, they're very Colin Moulding inspired. And we also, of course, if you know my main band, the Mercury Tree, we're already very King Crimson influenced, so we had that in common as well. Of course, love Zappa, but I mean, even beyond that stuff, Nick has such an encyclopedic knowledge of different bands and different styles. Like I'd never heard of Prefab Sprout. He introduced them to me. So he'll send me some song and I'm like, this is so creative and I've never heard anything like this. And he's like, oh, I'm just ripping off this band. that you never. It's kind of a tribute to like these two bands you've never heard of. To me, it's brilliant. I mean, I think it's brilliant anyway. But one of the biggest things about Nick is just like his chameleonic ability to adopt other styles when he wants to imitate a style of singing or a style of guitar playing, but still make it completely original and his own.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
so
agree.
much.
I agree.
I felt like on this latest album, as a whole, all of us, the first one was more like trying to make an entrance and trying to have a grab bag of everything I was capable of, and be like, hey, look, hey, check this out. And this album was like, okay, you saw what I'm capable of. Now let's sort of just be ourselves more. It felt there were like when you played Duggars, that was one of the few on the album that like had distinct sections that were like specifically based on certain bands. But the most of the album was well, I should say actually before I forget, like Birth Gourd and a couple of the other like 3 or 4 tracks with the lead guitar, which is like super important in those songs, was done by a guy named Mohadev. I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly, who I've known for a while. I'm based out of Tucson, Arizona, and I met him online when I was getting into the whole avant prog scene stuff, and it was crazy that it's like he had just recently moved from Tucson to Texas, and I was like, oh god, wish I had gotten to see him play, because he has an amazing band called Stop Motion Orchestra. And I had this weird idea of Erstwisle, which we can get into what that even is later if you want, but of doing because I've always been obsessed with bestiaries, and so I wanted to do an album. It wasn't even a Proletarians thing at that point, of just an alphabetical album of creatures or whatever. And he wanted to collaborate on something, and so it just didn't end up working out. But we still had these guitar parts that he had made, and I asked his permission of like, can I turn these into songs for Proletarians or whatever, and, fully credit you and everything, and he was fine with it. And we even had him come back and do some really amazing solos on a couple tracks too. So he's always been a big part of this project. But other than that, which obviously is not us, the other songs that are just us, I would sit down and start making a song at my computer purposely without thinking, okay, I'm gonna try to do a pastiche of blank or this or that. It would just, it sounds pretentious, or it sounds like something every musician should say, but for me it was a new thing of just letting it come out of me, sort of. It kind of, for certain song, like let's say I was talking about a 1-minute acoustic song about a dog named Daisy, and the lyrics are like, Daisy is a cute dog, Daisy got lost in the fog, or something. If I said that, like, yeah, when I was writing Daisy, it was really like I was in a trance or something, that would be like every comment would be justified on YouTube, saying like, this guy's a tosser, or whatever British term they want to use for me. That would be ridiculous. But there's like specific songs on this one, like Intristics and other ones, which literally have a elongated tribal part. Or when I say tribal, I just mean like it's tribal sounding, and it's very trance-like. And so there would be parts when I was writing those parts where I would write a melody and then put one over top of it, realize that it worked, and then just start playing it over and over and over again. And it really was just in a trance, and it was like in a state of, I'm not going to say euphoria or gnosis or some sort of over the top thing, but it was in a state where for the first time I wasn't making sure I sounded like, even though some of it did end up sounding like Adrian Belew and people told me different things that it sounded like, I wasn't trying to sound like anybody. I was trying to just let all the influences that had been cooking for years and years just come out as this own thing. And I really think that's what I'm most proud of with this album, is that the first album was like a cabinet of curiosities, and I think we nailed that, but it was all over the place, and very unruly. You had to be into that kind of thing. This one's much more cohesive, and it's much more pared down. It's much more us. So just wanted to say that.
Cool. Well, let's take a listen to New Life. It's the opening track. It's kind of poppy and fun, and I want to wrap up by the bottom of the hour, so we'll talk a little more after that, and then we can check out the music video for the album. So here's New Life.
An Erstwisle Alphabestiary, Book 1, A to L.
I love that track.
We added those chimes at one of the last stages. Nick, I believe you sung the chime part and asked me to add some chimes that go ba 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 ba. It's very. Someone posted in chat. It takes me back to the '80s. It does sort of give me a sort of like E.T. or like '80s epic soundtrack kind of feeling.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I know. I remember that I wanted the chimes at the end of it from the beginning, like ever since I wrote the song. But I must have just forgotten until the very end. That's funny.
Yeah, because we had that theme in the intro, but it was just played on guitar, and then come back later and doubled it on the chimes.
I'm sort of like, I mean, that's probably gonna, if we do an album like after we finish up this Erstwisle book duology, it's probably going to have something like, I'm just a sucker for doing that. I love little motifs that bookend, no pun intended. I think we did it in Lunatic as well. Like at the very end of the album, it did the thing from the beginning. It's just, I'm just a sucker for that.
So my little story about why we're even here is
like the creation myth, or I mean, not myth, but like,
yes.
On the
third day. No, this album came out a while ago. I listened to it when it first came out, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I might have listened to it again, a few months later. But then I forget what happened.
You get a lot of music.
I
so
do.
It's like, yeah.
I get several albums every single week, and it's impossible to keep up. It's like a teacup trying to
I get
the ocean. Anyway, so I put this. Nick, I don't know why I was thinking of you, but I was thinking of you. Just so everyone knows, I actually met Nick and his father here at my house at when we had Michael. Wait, was it Mike Keneally or Michael Manring play in my dining room?
I believe it was just Keneally.
Okay.
Maybe Manring. I need to get more familiarized with Manring. He could have been there too, and I was so ignorant.
No, it was just Mike.
No, it was like a really cool, intimate performance, and then to afterwards just be like, I think I was like eating a cookie in your kitchen with Mike Keneally, and I was just like, what is life? What?
Yeah, so I put this album on my phone. I think that's what it was. It was like I didn't have any reception, so I only had a few downloaded albums in my phone, and I was like, oh, there's Nick's album. So I put it on, and I was on a plane traveling somewhere, I think to London, and I listened to it just, I had nothing else to do, and I zoned in on this album, and it is so, so good. And it just really hit me in a way that the first couple listens didn't hit me. And I love albums like that. I wish that they weren't like that sometimes, because especially when you get or listen to so much music, if it doesn't hit you the first time, it's like, okay, that's cool. But then when I heard this just recently on a plane, I think as soon as I landed, I had messaged you, Nick, we need to do an interview about this album because it's so good.
Yeah, I was thrilled. Now, have you heard it all the way through since the plane? Because I think they did a study where it's like people like movies and music more on a plane or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did listen to it.
Could have just been that.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Because I did listen to some other stuff on the plane, and I was like,
okay,
boring.
Okay.
This just really hit the spot, and there's, like you said, pop in opposition. I think people who make weird music and all the kinds of bands that the three of us, listen to, they're just really going to get a kick out of it. So, Jerry Barnes is asking, what album, what artist? So if you're late coming here, it's Nick Prol and the Proletarians. It's actually at the top of the screen here. And the album is called An Erstwisle Alphabestiary. You can get it on Bandcamp. Came out in 2020, but it's still new, and it's really great. So definitely check it out. And Bandcamp is the best and only place to get it, right, Nick?
For now, it's on. Is that where we want people to go, Ben? I mean, I know it's on other.
Well, yeah, I mean it's on all the digital music platforms, but Bandcamp is some of the friendliest to artists. So
if you want to support, then Bandcamp.
Yeah.
But if you can't do that, but you want to still hear it, Spotify, iTunes, etc.
Yeah, cool. So Sharon Baker did ask if there were any plans to tour, and then I don't know how to say this guy's name. Beta 14 OK asked, is that the Munsters house at 1313 Mockingbird Lane? So if you could...
It's not, but it looks like it, and I love that show. It's actually a house from the...
Sorry.
Have you... no, it's a house from the television miniseries adaptation of Salem's Lot. I liked the house. I thought it looked cool. I wanted it to look like an old movie, so... I turned it black and white. Here I am.
Nice. And then touring plans at all?
No, not of this moment. That'd be the dream one day. But lots of stuff in the way with that. But Ben can answer, and he might have the same answer. But
Well, we did get to play one song live with Nick. That is the extent of our touring history. A few years ago in Tucson at a venue called the Flycatcher, which no longer exists. So that's a warning to future venues who might consider booking us.
How about I bring you out and you play here? And I have a venue like literally right behind my house. We can get 130 people in. Let's just do a show. Let's figure out how to get you guys from the Northwest up to Arizona or down to Arizona.
Well, I think it's always been like a long distance project, and so kind of in our mind was that like maybe someday some big prog festival will like decide to fly us all to Paris to perform with the remaining members of Universe Zero or something like that.
Right.
And then we could have like 2 months to prepare all the material. But it's certainly something we'd love to do someday. We definitely enjoyed the one small live experience so far.
Yeah.
I mean that offer is very, very awesome and generous. I guess we can discuss it, off air or whatever.
Yeah, and
no, let's commit right now.
Hey, I'm totally serious. Like I have this venue anytime you want. Nick, you're nearby, and we can figure something out. But
maybe we can have. If Ben and Connor can, we just have holograms of them.
And we can do a Zoom performance. Gorgeous Roddy Chrome says the underlying rhythmic vibe made me think of Indiscipline by King Crimson.
There you go. Yeah,
there you go.
That was even though I said I wasn't trying to pastiche anybody, that's so part of my DNA that it's all over the album.
Right.
Yeah, this album in particular has the strong early 80s King Crimson influence.
Yeah, it really does.
Also one of my favorite Crimson eras, although I love them all. But specifically, the clean guitar patterns cycling against each other is something I can just eat with a spoon all day.
Yeah, there's a lot of, which I guess is to say, because these are bands inspired by that, but like Don Caballero or Lero, Farrakhet, all those like kind of early math rock guys. There's a lot of that on there too. There's some weird breakdowns that suddenly are like 90s math rock, early emo, even like not emo as it became known incorrectly, but like original.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, like I said, the CD's available on Bandcamp, proletarians.bandcamp.com. Oops. You can buy the little booklet as well. That's a separate purchase, right?
No, it comes with every physical copy to my knowledge. Right?
Awesome.
Yes, it does.
Cool.
Did we talk about, or I don't know if we're out of time here, but I realized we didn't talk about like the afterlife concept.
Or what that's about, I guess. But maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, if you could do it just real quick in under a minute, that would be cool.
Okay. Do you want to do it, Ben, or you want me to do it?
You should do it. It's your thing.
Okay, so it's going to sound even weirder than it is when done fast. Concept is we all die and we are pretty much spat out of these sphincter mouths on a giant gourd. We land in a puddle of goo, and we all look like some sort of weird Picasso painting creature with feet for ears and eyes for nose, stuff like that. And for convenience sake, not for any sort of I don't know what the word is, English speaking supremacy, or I speak English, so like everyone in that world speaks English for the sake of the lyrics. Or I'd have to create it my own language and go magma or something. But so you are then taken to like this education sphere, taught all about this. It takes place on an island. Instead of heaven, it's an island called Erstwisle. It's spelled Erstwisle with like a pun with the word isle in it, like an island. The city is called Stead. It's in the middle of Erstwisle. Another pun, because then if you're in there, it's instead. Every creature that you learn about in each song has some sort of pun related to them, but they're all the flora and fauna of Erstwisle. They're not really they're not people who from our world who have died. They're just things that have always been there, like things that like cow type creatures or little spider things, or even like sinister, mysterious monk-like things, or things with noses for heads, which you will see. Those are all the things. That's what the album's about. Is like you become accustomed to living. If you want to become accustomed to living on Erstwisle, this bizarre island in the middle of a sea. Oh yeah, the sea is important. The sea is called the Head Sea, very creatively named because it's filled with giant floating heads. And if you die on Erstwisle, you become a giant floating head in the sea, and then it is your destiny to try to float around until you find a whirlpool, and then you'll find that whirlpool, and it will bring you back to Earth, reincarnated as someone else. So they think. It might take you to the Christian heaven. It might take you to the Muslim afterlife. It might take you. Who knows? So it's all about the mystery religions and esoterica and like. I mean, if you want it to be, that's all in there, or it can just be about fun fantasy that's with a huge dollop of like for easier shorthand Dr. Seuss, but for deeper stuff like pataphysics and Dada and surrealism and blah blah blah. So I think that's enough.
Okay, awesome. I love it.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there.
So yeah, listen to the album with that in mind, and then we're going to listen to, or we're going to watch a video called Phil Noss's.
Yes, which if I could just say a quick thing. So this, I just want to give credit, a woman named Isabel Weigard, I believe. I randomly was just scrolling through Facebook, saw her post that she was a clay stop motion animator, and I thought, oh my god, my dream would be to have this world animated, and I'm a huge stop motion nut. How cool would it be if our music video this time had stop motion? Now stop motion takes forever and is super expensive, so we just have a little guy walk across the screen once. But that's enough to make me happy, because I love Ray Harryhausen, and I love specifically here, I told her I want this guy, Jan Svankmajer. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I love his work. And so this is a big homage to that. And it's also an homage to the story The Nose by Nikolai Gogol, which, another strange coincidence, Ben's girlfriend, her last name is Gogol, it turned out, after he had already made an entire video dressed with noses on his head. So,
meant to be.
Awesome.
Yeah, meant to be. So,
all right. Well, sorry to cut you off, Nick. We just
no, please do.
Got to get the time.
Someone's got to.
Yeah. So check out proletarians.bandcamp.com, and please subscribe to Make Weird Music. If you're not already subscribed, just hit the like and subscribe button below. If you hit like, that signals to the algorithm that, hey, this is worth watching. This is a cool video. This is good music. And we want to get people to buy this album. So please support Nick and Ben and Connor with this project. Go to the Bandcamp site and you can buy it. And share the link with your friends. And then finally, we have this little join button down below the video player that lets you join our little insider club called Club Weird, where I share a lot of unfinished and unedited content. I just put a 2-hour interview with the Gentle Giant guitarist and drummer Gary Green and John Weathers. There's full concerts. There's all sorts of stuff on there that's exclusive to members only for $3 a month, and it helps keep my regular expenses down for the channel because it ain't cheap. All right.
And let me just say, if you can't buy it yet or whatever, just commenting on the video would be great. Just, it's been a while since we got some feedback on it. I'd love to hear that. And secondly, thanks so much, Anthony, for having us on.
Of course. Thanks, Nick.
Yes,
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's check out this video.
They fill the nostrils of the No.